Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fifth and final episode of our series where we make an animatronic in Blender. Now, it is finally time to add all the extra stuff. We're going to be covering how to give your animatronic clothes. We're going to be covering how to add extra bits onto your animatronic. We're going to be even covering how to make good renders with your animatronic, because I know quite a few of you want to make renders with your animatronics to show it off without it being in a T-pose. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. Please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps out a ton, and I won't be making more FNaF content if you guys don't like these videos. Let's get started. So, the first thing I want to do is put some clothes on this guy, because where's his vest? I get that Spring Bonnie doesn't typically have a vest, but he just looks cursed without it, to me at least. So, what we're going to be doing first is we're selecting his torso. We're going in here, and then we're going to select his upper torso, like so. Only the outside, not the inside. Um, just try to get it like that, and then because it's a vest, and not meant to be like a shirt or something, we just do this until it reaches his neck. That should be good. So what we do now is we press Shift D, escape, don't deselect, instead you want to separate by selection. Then you reopen up this, you reopen up the thing here, add modifier, solidify, offset 1, thickness, whatever you want. Of course, I'm going to be doing 0.1 or 0.11. And then you get this. Now, everything here, going to go in layout and press apply. Select everything. We're going to remove all of these except for just... Apparently you can't do that in edit mode. So we're just gonna get all of these except for dark metal. We're gonna make a new material, and if it's going to let us make a new material. If not, then just get a random material and duplicate it, preferably like teeth or nose or something that's just one solid color, since we're not going to be making it noisy like the other parts of the body, or at least I'm not. You can if you want. I'm going to call this purple fabric. And then I'm going to turn down specular, turn down the roughness a bit, turn up metallic a bit, because I think fabric looks a bit metallic. Just mess a bit around with it. And that is looking great, in my opinion. Would you look at that? Oh God. Spring Bonnie, what did they do to you? Okay, clearly I messed up a bit on that. But hopefully if you did things right, unlike myself, you should have ended up with a nice looking vest or clothes for your character. Okay, so apparently if it goes in like that, all you have to do is just manually select these. It's gonna be a bit tedious, but it's worth it not to go accidentally inside, because I don't know about you, but whenever I put on clothes, they aren't entering my body. They are merely just covering it. There's something seriously wrong if it's entering your body. But either way, jokes aside, just wanna select all these, deselect these, because you should have those selected. So you have it selected like that. I'm actually gonna deselect it around there, remove that. Just kind of want to fix it up a bit. Like I am right here. And then, of course, do the same thing we did previously. This time it's good. Spring Bonnie now has his vest. Now, I'm going to be merging that with his torso. And hopefully, you can double check to make sure it didn't mess with your rig by entering pose mode again. Sticks with him, so I think that means it's a good thing. Alright, now it's time to give him whiskers, because, I don't know, his face feels a bit empty, if you ask me. So, for whiskers, you're gonna do something a bit different. We're gonna get curves. Going to do mirror. I'm going to rotate it like that. And then you just position the curves so that they're on the body, or mouth in this case. Shift D, Shift D again. And then I'm just going to mess with them a tiny bit. And then once you're happy with them, all you gotta do think it's solidify. It's not solidify. Right, you have to get them convert to grease pencil. Or not. Convert to mesh. And that way you can turn it into skin. No. Alright, so you do convert it into a mesh. Then what you do Right, so you do turn it into skin. No. Alright, and then once you turn it into a mesh, which you just right click, convert to mesh, you go in here and you find the bevel. Alright, and then once you're happy with your curves, you should be able to find some. You should be able to go in here. You should be able to go into the curve settings. You're gonna see bevel in the geometry, below the geometry section. Or, no. You're gonna see bevel in the geometry section. You're gonna set the depth, make it a bit wide, like that. There should be tubes. And then once you do that, you just convert to mesh, which should also fix the mirror so that it works now. And then be sure to close off your whiskers. I'm gonna go ahead and do that on both sides. And set the material, no, not to new. Set the material to nose. And there you go, now you have whiskers. Now I'm going to teach you all how to make a very quick and simple bow tie. Just get a cube. Don't mirror it. First you have to just subdivision surface. It's gonna lag for a second. Like that. And then viewport 2. Go back to layout. Apply. Also, I forgot to say, merge these with the head. Shades smooth. Gonna go into X-ray, delete half of it so that you can mirror clip. Then you're gonna go up here, add cube. Disable clipping for a moment so you can pull it out. Flatten it on the Y. Enter Y for a second. Enter X-ray. Shrink this along the Z-axis. Pull it out a bit. Gonna get the loops. Set it to 5. Then do that. Then, this one, and this one. Also over here. You're gonna shrink them along the X. Go into the X view, shrink them along the Y. Actually, probably shouldn't select them. Like there. Shrink them along the X, or along the Y. Go back to Y, pull them in a bit like that. Select the top of it. Just extrude it a bit up like that. Do the same for the bottom. Select this part again, shrink along the Z again. Pull it a bit again. Set the number of cuts back to 3. And you select the end right here, R, but before you do R, press O. That way you twist the bow a bit. And then once you're happy with the shape of it, press O again to disable it, rotate it a bit. Exit X-ray, the X-ray. I'm gonna flatten it a bit. There you go. Then you can go into layout, apply, then apply the purple fabric. It's a bit too big because it's starting to be on the vest. So you shrink it. And then once you're happy with it, just like you did with the vest, join it to the torso, boom. Have yourself a little bow tie. Now, you can see there's nothing really right here. So we're gonna give him a tail. We don't even need to enter the editor for this. Just move over the cube. Subdivision. 2. Apply. Shade smooth. Make it look right. Teeth. Join it to the torso. Boom. And now you have yourself your finished model. To give him a hat, you just kind of do the same thing. By now you should know how to make a hat shape. So I'm not gonna really teach you how to do that, since it's not really part of my model. You can figure it out, you're smart. Now I'm gonna show you how you're going to be able to pose it in a way that looks really nice and make a render. So, to just rotate any part, you select kind of like the middle of it. We're gonna make him turn a bit, his head. If you want to rotate along a local axis, then you double press the letter that you would. Now, the way that you rigged it, it might be a bit weird. The axes might not be correct, but they should be able to still function right. So just keep rotating a bit like that until you get a pose that you're happy with. And you're gonna see here that I'm trying to make him look towards where the camera is gonna be. And when you're rotating a joint that has the cover, try to rotate in the opposite direction of the cover, because that's how you do it realistically. Also, whenever I'm posing, I like to disable the hand suit covers so that I can actually see where the finger segments are and rotate accordingly. I want him to have his fingers curled just a tiny bit. And the render I'm making here is actually going to be the thumbnail of the video. You can double check by putting back on the suit. Make sure it's not poking out a bit, because sometimes it'll poke out. Also, we're going to rotate his torso a bit so he feels a bit more expressive. There we go. Do the same thing we did for the other hand on this side. Or at least I will. Thank you all for watching this series, by the way. Alright, we got the hands. Double check. Should all be good. And just pose it in any way you want. Don't know if I already said that. Honestly, your choice. Now, once you're happy with your pose, what you want to do is exit pose mode, insert a camera, right click. Then, press this little camera icon over here. Press Y, or not Y, press N, and go over to view, camera to view, select it. Then pose your camera in this little box. Press N again if you want to hide that thing, by the way. Just kind of pose it how you want your photo to be framed. I want, if you're making it for like a thumbnail like I am, you want to follow the thirds rule, or rule of thirds. So just like imagine a French flag overlaying this box. You don't, you want to make sure your thing fits within the bars. So he fits in 2 bars and then leaves a bar right here. That's perfect. And then once you make sure he's lined up like that, imagine a Germany flag now. You want to make sure he fits in those bars too. Of course, he takes up the entirety of the vertical length. So, he of course fits that rule too. And then, once you're happy with your little camera pose, now it's time for lighting. You want to press this button right here. And you're going to see a dark scene. You're going to make it darker in a second. However, you quickly need to add in a light so you'll actually be able to see what you're doing. Now, you can use any of these, kind of experiment with them. However, if you want really cinematic lighting, kind of like what I have in the thumbnails for the last 3 videos, you get area lights, and then just kind of like move it. It doesn't let you move it with the move tool, so you gotta use G. And then double click R and make sure the line kind of points at him. Or her if you're working with a girl. Or them if they don't use pronouns. I don't know. You're gonna see nothing really happening. It's because your lighting isn't bright enough. You turn up the power, and you're going to slowly notice light creeping in. Once they've brightened up a bit, you can go over into here, output properties. Or, no. You go into this little globe. Color, set it to black. Turn off that right there. And then this, just turn it up a bit more in my case. Now, you can just kind of mess with the lighting. I want it like this, and I want it to be a bit brighter. Now, you can go up here. You're going to see render engine. Eevee Workbench Cycles. Cycles is going to take the longest, and it's going to be the most intensive on your computer. If you don't have a good computer, like me, then you should use Eevee. However, somehow my computer is able to run cycles. So, I do cycles typically, although it's probably going to lag out my recording software if I do cycles right now. So I'm not going to render it immediately, but like with cycles specifically, it's going to look very high quality and also be a bit brighter. Also, you just kind of, you never want a singular light in your scene. You should always try to get multiple. I'm gonna make this light a bit more green tinted. And then I'm gonna turn the power down. Now, if you can just delete your light and nothing happens, then that means your light isn't positioned correctly or isn't bright enough. But once you're happy, you're gonna see this little button right up here. It's gonna say render. Now, wait, quickly, before we do get there though, you will want to go over into this section. It looks like photo printing. You're gonna see here, resolution. You're gonna be able to enter how many pixels wide it is and how many pixels tall it is. More pixels equals more render time. That is something you want to keep in mind. And you're gonna see down here, output. You're gonna change the file format to whatever you want it in. If you want to leave it a PNG, then leave it a PNG. I'm going to be leaving it a PNG. And then once everything is just how you want it to be, go render image. And you'd press it, and then it'd pull up on your screen the render thing. I might show that. I might cut this part out. Maybe. But either way, I'm going to show you at the end how my render looks. Maybe show you a tiny bit. And then once you're ready to render, you press render and then render image. It's going to bring up an image of what you've taken in here on your screen. I'm not going to press it because, again, I use cycles and the software is going to be lagging it. So I will see you guys once it's done rendering. Alright, it's done rendering, and just know the rendering process can take any amount of time. However, once you're done with the render, you can zoom in, kind of check out the details. I know I'm really loving how this turned out. You can also see that I say kind of, but like I messed with the lighting quite a bit because I felt it wasn't fancy enough. So here we are with my final render. And then all you want to do is go into image. You're going to see save as. You save it like how you'd save any other image. And once you're done with that, you're done with that. Thank you all so much for watching this video and just this series in general. I really had a lot of fun making it, and if you want to see more FNaF content, please, please like the video and subscribe. Because I'm not going to make any more after this video if I do not reach 10 likes on this video. Alright, thank you all for watching, and have a great rest of your day.